Hey, bear! Always, always.
You can't get out here, sir. John said that the water plant is near where you are.
I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got hypothermia and frostbite.
The creepiest encounters are the ones that never fully reveal themselves. Something reaches a camper's food bag in the night, and somewhere else, a strange blue light moves through a cornfield with no clear source. If you saw signs like that, would you keep filming or leave immediately? On November 29th, 2012, Paula and her 44-year-old boyfriend, Roderick Clifton, were at his mother's house in Citrus Heights, California. That day, Paula's mother had asked them over for dinner, so they gathered their things and started the long drive, more than 100 miles, toward Gardnerville, Nevada. They traveled through the mountains, stopping several times to enjoy the views. Even with those pauses, they were still expected to arrive well before dinner. Rod decided to take a brief side trip to Burnside Lake, and that was when the situation began falling apart. A gate and thick ice blocked the road, making it obvious the route was closed for the season. But Rod, who knew the area from earlier summer visits and wanted to try his Jeep in the snow, went around the barrier, a choice that would soon bring severe consequences. At first, nothing appeared wrong at all, and they made it to the lake around 7 p.m. But the snow was much deeper and softer than they expected. When they tried to turn the Jeep around, the front left tire got trapped. Hours spent trying to free it accomplished nothing. As the temperature fell sharply from the 60-degree conditions they had left, they understood they were not ready to stay overnight, wearing only fall clothes, with little food and no phone service. They remained inside the Jeep while a strong snowstorm moved in. The following day, November 30th, Rod chose to look for help. He set out on foot through waist-deep snow for what should have been almost a 6-mile trip, telling Paula he would be back in a few hours. He never returned. Paula was forced to survive by herself. She rationed the few green tomatoes she had packed, melted snow for water, and covered herself with every blanket and piece of clothing she could find. The freezing weather, storm, and isolation gradually weakened her hope. By December 1st, she used the final battery power in her camera to leave a message for her family, unsure whether anyone would ever find her.
Well, I'm on my voice. It is now Sunday morning, and the snow has not let up. It's about 6.5 feet deep, I think. I'm eating a green tomato a day. I'm eating as much snow as I can remember to, and trying to stay warm. I just want to come home. Rod left Friday morning. Today's Sunday. Rod left Friday morning to go get help and didn't come back. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got hypothermia and frostbite or some critter got him. But I can't walk out in this because I don't have the clothing. I mean, I feel fine. I'm not delirious, and I just have a hard time keeping my feet warm because I don't have any socks. I have them taped up with toilet paper underneath them. I just want to see my babies and my mom. I'm so sorry that this happened.
On the morning of December 2nd, the storm finally let up, giving her a small amount of hope and the will to try escaping. She packed a small bag with whatever useful items she could gather, including scissors and a flashlight, and even made temporary gloves and socks from masking tape and tissue. As she stepped out into the snow, the burden of days alone and the brutal cold pressed down on her, but she refused to stay trapped. The walk became far harder than she had expected. Every step dropped deep into the snow, sometimes making her crawl and use her backpack for support. Her body, weakened by days without real food and exposed to freezing conditions, struggled to continue. Hours passed as the cold wore her down. Her hands and feet went numb. She coughed blood, and her awareness started slipping under the pressure. Just when her strength seemed almost gone, the snowstorm came back hard, forcing her to take cover inside a hollow tree filled with spiders, where she remained for 2 nights, barely recovering enough energy to move on. By then, her only food, the green tomatoes, was gone, and survival seemed almost impossible. On December 5th, 6 days after becoming stranded in the harsh wilderness, Paula pushed herself onward one last time, driven by the smallest trace of hope. That was when she found Rod's body covered in snow. He had probably died from hypothermia only hours after setting out to find help. The sight devastated her, but it also strengthened her determination. She knew she could not stop. Searchers had been looking since the night they disappeared, but no one knew they had detoured to Burnside Lake, and severe weather had stopped aerial searches. Thankfully, Paula's brother Gary, knowing they had visited the lake in past summers, quickly went to check the area on December 5th and found her crawling along the road, dangerously near death. Rain had started falling, and even a brief delay could have cost her life. He rushed her to a nearby hospital, where doctors treated her for first-degree frostbite. After almost a week of unimaginable suffering, Paula survived. She has since fully recovered and now lives safely with her family and children. Sometimes one decision can change everything, especially in isolated places where help is far away. If you were facing that blocked mountain road, would you turn around? Or take the risk and hope everything would somehow work out? Tasha, a woman who occasionally shares short moments from everyday life online, filmed an unsettling encounter while relaxing near the river with her dog. What started as a peaceful, quiet outing suddenly changed when she saw a man moving through the water toward her.
What are you doing? You can't get out here, sir. No! Don't! Don't come! Don't come! What are you doing?
Her dog responded instantly, sensing the tension and causing Tasha to start recording. Later, she discovered that the man coming toward her had a lengthy criminal history, including drug offenses, sexual assault, and weapons charges.
You're not taking my tube, boy. I'm recording. It is. I seen all of you. I got all of you on camera.
I'm with them, right?
Then go get with them.
Learning his past made the encounter even more frightening. Luckily, her dog stopped him from coming too close, and once he noticed he was on camera, he turned away. The scene serves as a strong reminder of how quickly a normal outdoor moment can become dangerous. Tasha's awareness, along with her dog's protective reaction, likely stopped the situation from developing into something much worse. According to reports, the man later went back to jail for violating parole, showing how fast reckless actions can bring consequences. If you were alone near the river and saw someone approaching that way, would you stay calm and keep filming on the spot, or leave before it went any further? On October 24th, 2025, the YouTube channel Campion, known for quiet solo camping and wilderness survival, recorded a night in a remote forest in heavy rain. Alone between soaked earth and tall trees, Campion tried to build comfort, dragging gear through mud and setting up a large canvas tent to ride out the storm. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, everything seemed controlled. The setup was careful and slow. The white canvas tent went up section by section, changing a rough clearing into shelter. Inside, the mood shifted. Rugs were placed, furniture was arranged, and a wood stove added heat. The rain slipped into the background. It felt safe. Then the quiet snapped. Without warning, an explosion burst near the stove. The tent came down quickly as flames shot upward, ripping through fabric and gear despite the rain outside. Afterward, only smoke and silence remained. The tent was destroyed. Equipment sat burned across the forest floor. What stood out most was not the storm, but how fast one moment removed everything that felt secure. Viewers focused on how one missed detail, not the weather, nearly turned comfort into something deadly. If survival can depend on timing alone, how often does danger stay hidden until it is too late? On September 6, 2025, the YouTube channel Madison Clydesdale documented a solo journey into the mountains of British Columbia. Traveling with her dog across remote terrain, Madison followed a route she knew well, aware that familiarity offers little protection in a place like this.
I've already stepped in some mud. I'm starting my navigation on my watch, so it'll let me know if I go off track from my pre-planned route, and it'll just keep me honest with how many kilometers I'm doing, what my elevation gain is, and if I get lost, I can retrace my steps. In a survival situation, you could survive off this fresh water. I would boil it first because you could get giardia or filter it somewhere. And with all these berries, I could go a few days on just these berries alone. I've got my bear spray accessible, ready to be pulled out. These purple flowers are fireweed, and the flowers are edible. They're really nice in tea. We're a little bit late in the season, nearing the end of August, so their leaves kind of look like a maple leaf with some extra ridges. They look like thorns on the stems, but they're not sharp. There's been lots of streams, and I'm carrying about 2 liters for Kiro and 2 liters for myself, so I think I might dump his water. He has no problem drinking out of these streams. This feels wrong. If I were a bear, this is where I'd hang out. Hey bear! Got huckleberries to my left and to my right. Bit of an open field. Keeping an eye out for bear scat, but I haven't found any yet, which is good. Silent here. Hey bear! Always, always bring an extra pair of socks. It's basically a marshy bog. I could have gone around it, but then I'd be bushwhacking through some pretty dense bushes, so better off to just bring an extra pair of socks. I'll sleep in them tonight and I'll hike out in them tomorrow. I always wear wool socks as well because those are quick drying. Well, that's slightly inconvenient, isn't it? Hey bear!
As the climb went on, her attention stayed sharp. A sudden noise from dense brush cut through the quiet. In grizzly bear country, even unseen movement matters. Madison stopped, kept her dog nearby, and called out repeatedly, a precaution meant to prevent a surprise encounter with something larger than herself.
I made it to the top. This lake is so much more beautiful, which I didn't know was possible. Now we just gotta get down there. Look at those mountainscapes. Wow. We have a runaway dog. I repeat, a runaway dog. Okay, I guess I'll meet him down there. I made it to the lake. I think I see a spot over there that I can set up camp. I just have to get over this boulder field. There's a creek coming down the mountain and it's probably good fishing there. I can see fish jumping. I found camp. We're on a little peninsula. Oh my gosh, I'm so dead. Kiro has cut himself. I need to get my first aid out right now. I think his dew claw got stuck on a rock. I had a look and it seems to just have broken a nail and his dew claw didn't actually rip off, thank goodness. There's not much we can do about it right now besides clean it out in the lake and rest. I think hiking out and getting it all dirty would make it worse, plus it'd be after hours. Like, I don't think he needs to go to the vet for it, and at this point we wouldn't get back till dark, so I'm pausing my activity. 13,500 steps, over 2,000 calories burned, and over 2,000 meters elevation.
Arriving at the lakeside camp gave her a short break, until she saw her dog's paw bleeding, likely hurt during the rocky ascent. With no help nearby, she cleaned the injury and slowed her pace.
You hear a bird out there? We are cozy in bed. It's about to get really dark out here. I feel like some people wonder why I do this alone or why you would want to. One, when I moved here, I just didn't know anyone. My mom introduced me to backpacking, and when she wasn't available, I was like, I'll go by myself, because that's what she did when no one was available. Also, there's just something that pushes you out of your comfort zone being by yourself. Although I am going to be looking into this forest all night. Another night, we didn't become a bear burrito. Successful mission. How would you sleep? Oh. You hungry? Okay, good job. Oh no, you shouldn't be running. Wow, beautiful morning. Go. Bear bag's in great shape. It actually does look like it has some bite marks. Can you see those? Those are definitely bite marks from rodents or something, but they couldn't get into it. My energy levels are a little low. I need to eat something.
As night came in, food was hung away from camp. By morning, bite marks and torn fabric showed that an animal had reached the bag overnight. Something had been close, without ever showing itself.
Fish on! Woohoo! It's a beautiful rainbow trout. Okay, we gotta get him back. Bugs are getting bad again. Don't forget to resume your activity. Make sure we didn't leave anything behind. When I don't backpack for a while, I get bruises on my hips. I'm gonna have the backpack put on properly, but does anyone else get that? Can you get over that stick? Why is your toenail bleeding like that? It was healed. What happened? My gosh. Stay. Can you stand up? This is Leuco tape, and I'm gonna put this over the gauze to try and get it to stay. Okay, Kiro, can you come? We just gotta get through these rocks and then it'll be smooth sailing. A lot of dog owners get their dew claws removed. I was 18 when I got Kiro, which is no excuse, and we went 10 full years without any injuries, but yeah, I guess that's a lesson learned. Mistakes happen out here, accidents happen out here. The important thing is you know how to react. Wilderness first aid, or at least watching YouTube videos on first aid, is very important before you go out here, because no one thinks they're gonna get hurt until they do. I think what happened was the pad on his paw got cut. Good job, buddy. We did it.
What disturbed viewers most was not what appeared on camera, but what never did. In terrain like this, how can you judge danger when it never reveals itself? A group of campers were staying in a forest in Indonesia when something unexpected occurred. One moment the area felt still and quiet, and the next everything shifted without warning. A huge earthquake, measured at 7 magnitude, hit the Banda Sea off the coasts of Indonesia and East Timor. The shaking was so strong that it was even felt in parts of Australia. These campers were far inside the forest when the ground started violently moving, and for a moment it seemed like the earth itself could split open beneath them. Luckily, none of them were hurt. In nearby regions, several buildings sustained damage, and authorities issued tsunami alerts for multiple islands. Thankfully, no tsunami developed, although the quake caused only a small number of injuries and was not as destructive as it might have been. Its raw power was frightening. If the shaking felt that severe where they were, the force at the epicenter must have been overwhelming. Tate is a creator mainly known for his fishing videos. But this event came from his second channel, where he posts more relaxed behind-the-scenes moments. What started as a normal recording day for his main channel soon became something completely unexpected. He and his friend Zach had gone to the lake to film a new fishing video. The weather was calm, the boat was ready to launch, and everything felt like an ordinary outing overall.
Me and Zach's out here, we're filming a video for the main channel. Oh, we got the boat all hooked up. I guess I'm backing you down, right? It's pretty cool out here.
Fall feel to it.
Does have a fall feel. It's feeling pretty good out here. We got a giant bait out here as well. I don't know about you guys, but these right here are some of the smallest minnows I've ever seen. I have never, ever in my life got minnows this small.
Swimming with it, bud. It's a better fish.
Give me a fish one time. That's right.
Woo! Big Daddy.
Oh gosh, he's not in good shape, brother. Yeah. Look at that, sir. Whoops. Crappie. Are we keeping these? Oh yeah. All right, toss them in the box.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, are you good? You don't know what's going on? Where at? Seen cops go by.
You hear that thing?
Gunfire, brother.
For a while, the day unfolded just as expected. They fished, recorded, and enjoyed the cool, fall-like air. But while they were still on the water, one of Tate's friends called with troubling news. Reports were spreading about an active shooter nearby. At first, Tate and Zach did not know what to think, but moments later, they heard sirens close by, followed by real gunfire carrying across the lake.
We're literally going to be driving right by where the active shooter is, like actual. And I'm not even trying to build this up. It's actually true. Just for reference, right here's the map of where we are right now. The gunshots literally could have been from an active shooter. So we actually had set out jugs the day prior. And just like every time we go out to the lake, we wait till the end to check our jugs because it gives us the most time to catch a fish. And literally half of our jugs were less than a mile from where this occurrence happened. Really dangerous that we're even out here right now. But we wanted to get any catches we could. It's also against the law not to check your jugs within 24 hours. The car's pulled over right now. Right over there. There's nobody on the interstate right now. Huh? You ready to go? We got to check jugs and we're getting out here immediately. I've never been in this situation before. The guy's supposedly in the woods right now. If you can see, there's woods everywhere. So it's pretty sketchy. On the wheel, man. You can see right there, guys. This is one of the sketchiest situations I've ever been in on the water. I feel like we're safe right here, right? No, that's 75 right there also. That's 75 right there too, so he could be in those woods as well. My wife just texted me and said I probably should stay on the water, actually. Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife, just know that I'm committed. I just took on an active shooter to make sure I check my jugs every 24 hours. 7 people dead.
9 injured, 7 deceased.
7 dead, 9 injured. That's absolutely insane. Exit 41, that's London. Why?
Between 49 and 41. Where is that?
So he's literally coming this way.
John said that the water plant is near where you are. The police scanner says that that's where he is. I just was listening to it. It says he's exactly where you are. So
I'm coming
Are
home.
you sure you should come off the water?
No, I'm coming. It's cold out here. What's going on with it now?
I can't get anything real recent on it. Now we hear there's more than one shooter and there's like 14 people shot out.
There's more than one?
That was when they understood how near they were to the danger. Based on where they were fishing less than a mile from where the situation was happening. Half of the jug lines they had placed the day before were in the same direction as the reported gunman. With woods around them and no clear idea of the shooter's exact location, they chose not to gamble by staying on the water. They packed their gear quickly, returned toward the ramp, and left the area as fast as they could. Later reports confirmed that several people had been killed and others were injured. The suspect, identified as Joseph Couch, had reportedly sent a message before the attack, saying he intended to hurt others and then himself. Authorities announced a $35,000 reward for information about his location. Days later, a YouTube couple looking for the reward noticed vultures circling over a wooded area. When they checked, they found the suspect's body, confirming he had died by suicide. Tate and his friends later understood how close they had been to the unfolding tragedy. If they had stayed on the lake longer or accidentally crossed paths with the suspect, the result could have been much worse. Leaving when they did may truly have saved their lives. Ben is known for looking into strange and unexplained incidents, but this case became one of the most disturbing he had ever investigated. A farmer had reached out to him, describing odd lights at night, unsettling sounds, and cattle vanishing without explanation. Interested, Ben chose to camp on the property overnight, placing his base at the edge of a huge cornfield.
Going to be spending the night solo hammock camping right next to a farm that's been encountering strange phenomena. Tonight, see if we can see anything untoward. I've set myself up here on the edge of the farm. People have reported strange lights moving across these fields. Workers talk about hearing noises that they can't explain. And there are claims of cattle vanishing without a trace, here to try and capture whatever is behind this. So, the farmer in our discussion has already mentioned seeing strange lights at night time hovering above the field. Now, I didn't ask in the conversation what crop was growing in that field, so this is the first time for me as well seeing this, but funnily enough, it's corn. We all know the links the UFOs have with corn fields and crop circles. Something that I'm going to note down, something that I'm going to be very aware of. And tonight, even, I'm going to come back and really go through that field and maybe just sit down, absorb, listen, keep my eyes peeled for anything that maybe help me in this investigation.
He explained that the farmer had already mentioned glowing lights floating above the fields, and as Ben looked around the area, he noticed how appropriate it felt that corn surrounded the campsite, a crop often connected with UFO stories and crop circle claims. His plan was straightforward. Watch, film, and document anything unusual. He wanted to walk into the field, understand the setting, and see if he could find any sign of what had been reported. A storm moved through soon after sunset.
So it's started raining, which was forecast. This is setting now for the rest of the night as well. So I've been keeping my eye on the weather forecast, and I think in the next few hours we're due a thunderstorm. It's really starting to come down now. So there's only about 20-30 minutes worth of decent light left. Just behind me is the cornfield. I'll pick a spot out at random in the cornfield. Okay guys, so I've pushed quite a way into the cornfield at this point. It's almost nighttime. I've been sat down here for about 10-15 minutes. I can hear a train off in the distance. There's owls hooting off to my right. There's a real pungent smell of something at this point. Could be the crop. Well, I'm smelling everything on the crop and it doesn't sound. The aim is to keep looking up through the crop and see if any of those strange lights pass overhead. About 5 minutes into me being sitting here, I heard what sounded like an animal pushing its way through the crop. A minute, it sounded like it was coming in my direction. I could hear the trampling of something making its way through, something that sounded large. It wasn't a rat or, some small rodent. This thing was actually moving crop out of the way, so I was thinking badger or fox, but it then stopped. So before I could give a positive idea on what that was, the noise and the movement through this corn was just non-existent, which was weird. I've been sat here listening to something move back and forth. I've got Lily with me now.
Hitting his tent with heavy rain when the weather cleared. He walked into the cornfield and sat quietly to listen. The area became still, with only distant owl calls and the low sound of a passing train breaking the quiet. Then he picked up a strong, unfamiliar odor moving through the stalks, something he could not identify. Soon after, he heard movement. Something large was forcing its way through the corn, moving the stalks hard enough to rule out small animals. Then the sound suddenly stopped, leaving the field completely silent.
There's something in the distance, Boo. There's something in the distance. 1 second. Lily, stay. There's a blue light. It's reflecting off the crop. What the hell is that? 1 second. I'm gonna turn my torch on. There's no noise. Just a blue light. What the hell is that? There is something definitely moving through this crop in front of me, but it's difficult to gauge any kind of distance. What the hell? light is happening all around me. It's hard to tell or orientate yourself, but I'm actually filming in all directions at this point. The light hasn't changed colour, it's just been a blue, ice cold blue light. There it is again. It seems like it's moving. Guys, I'm gonna move. There is something walking through this cornfield. I'm gonna get the hell out of here. That is in the cornfield. It looks like it's off in the distance, but it's actually in the cornfield. What the hell? How is that possible? So I'm back in the woods now, guys. I don't know if you can see this behind me.
As he kept listening, his dog started reacting to something farther away. Moments later, a faint blue light appeared deep inside the corn. It flashed, vanished, returned, and remained there without any sound or obvious source. The light bounced off the stalks, moving around him as if it were circling the field. Ben filmed as much as he could, trying to judge how far away it was, but the darkness made that almost impossible. Eventually, the activity felt too disturbing, so he left the field and went back to camp.
Okay, so this footage that you're watching is roughly about 5 days after the footage that you've just seen. I've spoken to the farmer again recently, keeping all that information to myself. All I'm saying to him is that I have been out there and I have experienced X, Y, and Z. But dates and times, I'm keeping that to myself. Now, what's interesting is during our recent conversation, one of the farm hands that work and live on the farm has been experiencing some night terrors that are based around extraterrestrial abduction scenarios. Dreams that he believes where he's being pulled out of bed and he's waking up on the floor in the dark with no idea physically how he got there. What's really strange is that on one of these occasions when these night terrors first started is exactly the same day I was in the cornfield sat there watching these blue lights. Is it linked? Is that a coincidence?
The next morning, he spoke with the farmer again and learned something deeply unsettling. One of the farmhands had been suffering severe night terrors, dreams about being dragged from his bed by strange beings and waking on the floor without knowing how he got there. The most disturbing detail was the timing. The first night those dreams happened was the same night Ben saw the blue lights in the cornfield. According to the farmer, the lights kept appearing in the days afterward, whether it was coincidence or something much stranger. What happened on that farm left Ben with more questions than answers.